So Andrew Yang is, of course, running the New York City mayoral race, and his opponents are really having a really difficult time pinning him down and getting him off of his lead. A lot of the polls have Andrew Yang at the top of the polls, the tippity top, even in the ranked choice voting polls, because New York City has basically changed its voting primaries to ranked choice voting. So that means that the top two candidates can either be Republican, they can be Democrat, they can be either or Republican, Democrat. They can be two independents, independent Republican, independent Democrat, or Democrat independent, whatever. So I mean, you can get, and really any party has a chance here. But so Andrew Yang, one of his opponents, Myah Wiley, who's like an MSNBC guru establishment fool, basically called him a mini Trump. That's what they got to take this guy down. That's it. That's it. Nothing else. They're like, hey, if all else goes wrong, let's just call him a mini Trump. Let's go. Now look, Andrew Yang has come out saying, hey, we should not spend all of New York's stimulus aid. We should hold off on that. I think he's stupid for that. I really do. I'm sorry to the Andrew Yang supporters. Not spending most of New York City's stimulus aid. I mean, come on. Really? Really? Like, New York City is so well off that they're like, hey, we don't need any help. Like the citizens. Are you kidding? But, again, this has to do with name ID, right? I mean, Andrew Yang is so popular, and it's not because of policy. It's not because of his agenda. It's not because of his platform. Nothing. Um, you know, it's it, it's because of his name. It's because he ran for president, and it's also because so that gives him a lot of leverage. 80% approval of not approval, but name ID. Right? People know who he is. Right? But also, like, he's a nice dude. He's a nice guy. Um, he has that leverage of going out, talking to people, being at restaurants, being on the subway, talking about two or three of his policies that he really cares about. And um, that's the thing that's getting him to be at the top. And, his advisors don't really have, I've gone over this a billion times, they don't really have relationships in a New York City politics, right? In the depths of it. He's not, friendly with de Blasio and Cuomo and all of them. If anything, he should be against Cuomo right now. But, right? But, he is not in the club of New York City politics or the Democratic establishment of New York. And so that's why people are going after him. And, it's that's incredible. But there's another thing too, whereas, like, he's not a policy guy. The main policy he's got is like UBI, right? So $1,000 a month to 500,000 New Yorkers. I personally think, and a lot of progressives think, his way of paying for it is regressive. It's not progressive. We never said he was a progressive at all. He's more establishment. But either way, I mean, that's the bad part of Andrew Yang and his anti-BDS comments, because he knows nothing about it, as I'll go over next week, hopefully, or in 2 weeks. But, so that's another thing. Now, another thing is, you calling him a mini Trump, like, he's the furthest thing from Trump you can get. Like, he doesn't have hotels. As far as we know, doesn't have any allegations of rape and sexual assault and stock dealings and all kinds of crap like that. I mean, it's just incredible how they're trying to take him down as a mini Trump, because they've got nothing on him. They've got nothing on him. Now, another thing is too that he's he's got a good housing uh, method, I think, where he says, well, why are we gonna spend years and years approving construction of new buildings when we've got thousands of buildings in New York that aren't even being used? We can turn into housing, affordable housing for people. What that's gonna look like, I have no idea. But again, that's another policy idea. So again, Andrew Yang doing well in the polls, and people trying to take him down. That's my iPad. I'm sorry. And it's just not working. You're just not working. He's got the name ID. He's talking to people. He's a nice dude. He's not that big on policy. He's got his two or three. His people are not in the club in New York City. Politics. That all culminates. And by the way, you got the Yang Gang willing to vote for him. And look, everyone in most of the Asian community supports him. And granted, not everybody in the Asian community does. That's fine. But guess what? When people see the name Andrew Yang on the ballot, they're not going to be focused on that. And by the way, like, people are going to notice that he's not a mini Trump. They're going to notice that. And these people, this whole name calling and insults, it's all they've got because they're also corrupt individuals, so they don't have anything to go off of. They don't have any policies. They don't have any reason to be mayor other than I want to help my friends. So, I just think that Andrew Yang is probably going to win this race. And again, be aware that the establishment is probably going to try and do something about that. They're going to try and take him down whatever way they can because they know this dude's probably going to win.